Thank you for volunteering to be part of the BC Summer Games. This is dorm host training where you'll learn everything you need to do to be an effective dorm host at the Games. In the 2016 BC Summer Games, there are 18 different sports where athletes from across the province will be coming to compete. There'll be almost 2,500 athletes participating in the Games, 473 coaches, and 289 officials. The athletes will begin to arrive on Wednesday, July the 20th, and they will arrive on that date at just one of our sites, which is Abbey Senior Secondary. Most of our athletes will arrive on Thursday, July 21st. The first thing they'll do is arrive at athlete accreditation, where they will pick up their ID badge. Then they will arrive at our dorm sites. In the afternoon, they'll have an afternoon practice, and then they'll be attending the evening ceremony, which is the opening ceremony of the BC Games. On Friday, July the 22nd and Saturday, July the 23rd, that's when the competitions begin. There will be a dance at the Ag Rec on both evenings, and the hospitality rooms at our dorm sites will be open in the evening hours. On Sunday, July the 24th, the competitions will conclude. The athletes will be checking out of their dorm sites. The closing ceremonies for the Games is at 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, July the 24th, and the athletes will depart around 3 p.m. Late departure will occur at one site, Mowat Secondary, by chartered flights at 9 p.m. So the main thing that you need to know off this slide is that on Thursday, July the 21st, at approximately 7 o'clock a.m., the dorm sites will be open across Abbotsford and will be ready to receive athletes and ready to remain open 24/7 until the athletes depart on Sunday. This slide gives you a sense of how many athletes will be at each site. So at Abbey Senior, there'll be 340 athletes, and WA Fraser Middle School, 360. So you can see that it's around 3 to 350 athletes per site. You'll notice that we don't have any big signage to indicate which of the athletes are staying at which dorms. Although they are organized by the sport that they participate in, we don't really want to broadcast that. So when we answer the telephone, we answer BC Games dorm site. We don't give out information about who is staying at the dorm site. So we want to make sure that in our dorm desks, we welcome the athletes to the school, we welcome them to Abbotsford. We want to assure that only authorized individuals are accessing our building. So only people with the proper badge are allowed onto the dorm site. We monitor the activities, and we're really there to safeguard the school and make sure that it's a safe environment for the athletes. Your role as dorm host is not to supervise the athletes. They're traveling with their coaches and other adults, and those individuals are there to supervise their behavior. If there's an issue with regards to the behavior of some of our athletes, you'll just want to contact the coach and talk to them in order to have them address the issue. You want to enjoy your time with the athletes. It's a very exciting event in their young lives, and you want to make sure that it's as positive as possible. For your shift, please bring any lunch or snacks that you might need for your shift, as there will not be food made available to the volunteers. You will have access to the school staff room to take a break, and it's a good idea to bring a book or some reading because there may be quite a bit of quiet time during your shift. In terms of how the school will be structured, there is only one entrance into and out of each dorm site. So the athletes should not be using any other doors, and all other exterior doors will be locked, and the sign "emergency exit only" will be placed on the door. So to reiterate, the athletes are only supposed to come in and out of the door where you will be sitting, and you will be asking them to sign in and out as they come and go. So this is a bit of a visual of what your space will look like. You can see that there are sign in and sign out forms, and those will be taped right down to the dorm host desk. And there must be one attendant at the desk at all times. So one of our most important roles as dorm host is to ensure that the athletes sign in and out of the dorm area every single time they come and go from the building. And if there's a big lineup, it means they have to wait in that lineup so that they can properly sign in and out. The same procedure is in place for the coaches. So everybody that comes and goes from the building should be signing in and out. We want to educate the athletes early on Thursday to let them know how serious it is for them to sign in and out every single time. And this is a sample of what the sign in and out sheets look like. And you can see that whoever this dorm host was, they highlighted the out to make it easier for the athletes to find their name and the appropriate box to click or box to check mark. So our highest priority is athlete safety, and in our job to ensure that that safety exists for all athletes is to make sure that only people with the proper security clearance level are allowed onto the site, with no exceptions. So the only people that are allowed on the dorm site are accredited athletes, coaches, and officials who are assigned to that dorm. Other kinds of coaches and officials are not allowed in. So accredited volunteers, that's people with an accredited volunteer badge. School district maintenance staff who are also wearing a badge, and scheduled school district custodial and clerical. And there'll be lists of these individuals in your dorm host binder. So each of the athletes, the coaches, the officials, and the volunteers are issued accreditation badges, just like the one that you will receive when you attend your first volunteer shift. The individual must have accreditation badge in order to access the dorm site. It's a good idea for dorm hosts to assist athletes to remember to always have their badge on hand, as you will not be allowed to let them back in without it. So this is what the accreditation badge looks like. You can see that the individual's name is printed in bold type. It's yellow in color and it's laminated with the Abbotsford BC Games logo at the top. So the level 1 accreditation badge is the volunteer badge, and you see the small number 1 next to the bolded letters VOL for volunteer. And this means that level 1 means that there's a security clearance, and that's why we ensure that each of our dorm host volunteers had the proper criminal record checks done prior to being issued their badge. Other individuals that may access the site are school district maintenance staff. If a maintenance personnel is dispatched for repairing something on site, they will be wearing their school district ID badge, which clearly has their picture and the school district logo, and it is in a laminated case. And this would only be necessary if there was some kind of a major issue with the building or something that needed to be repaired on short notice. If a school district maintenance employee needs to go into the dorm area, and by that I mean the area where the athletes are sleeping or where their personal belongings are being kept, they'll need to be escorted by one of the dorm hosts. Ensure that any athletes in the dorm room are aware prior to entry of the room, so you might want to knock on the door and say, maintenance is here. Please note that parents and friends of the athletes are not authorized to attend the dorm site. They're not authorized to come in. They can come in particular parents can come in, and they can come in and take the athlete for dinner. They can visit with the athlete outside, but they can't come into the dorm area. So parents and friends of the athletes not permitted into the dorm area. A couple of our sites are dual sites, meaning that they will serve more than one purpose. You can see here the list of the dual sites for the games. Please note that where there is a dual purpose for the site, the dorm sites are separate and secure from other areas and the other game venues. So persons working in the other areas are not permitted into the dorm area. And there will be pipe and drape to separate the venues, but there won't be a solid wall, for example, possible in all of those areas. But it does still mean that the dorm site is off limits to anyone using the other part of the school. So the way this works is that the athletes have to come and go through the dorm entrance. They're not permitted to go through the through the school into the area where the competitions are going on in other parts of the school, for example, in the gym. They have to go outside through the main entrance, walk around to the sports entrance, and enter from that entrance point. And again, when they want to come back, they have to leave through the sports entrance, walk around the school, and come in through the proper dorm entrance. Because these are young athletes, they may need your help, especially in the first day or two, to remember that they're only allowed to come in and out of the dorm area through the main entrance. So don't be shy about directing them. It actually is very helpful to them to be clear on what's expected of. There will be an information board at the front of each of the dorm sites, and there is information about how to order takeout foods from local restaurants, basic information about the dorm facility, and some timetable schedules will be available on the information board as well. There will be a hospitality room available, or kind of like a common area for the athletes to gather and socialize. It's open from 7 to 10 each night, and it will be staffed by our hospitality hosts who will manage the refreshments. Snacks will be handed out, movie available to be played at each of the dorm sites. On your desk, when you arrive for your shift, you'll see a dorm binder. The dorm binder contains the dorm map, keys to the building, schedules, room lists, fire evacuation plan, and all of the forms that you may need. It is a great, rich resource, and again, this slide presentation will be present as well in the dorm binder. So this is an example of the dorm map, and the pink items list the girls' dorm, the blue items list the boys' dorm, the yellow is a listing of the common area, and the green identifies the showers and the washrooms. Keys to the building are provided in an envelope inside the dorm binder. Dorm hosts will lock the front door at curfew and use the dorm map as a guide on which the rooms are authorized to be unlocked. So if you're not sure of whether or not to allow someone to gain access to an area in the building, you just need to look at your color-coded dorm guide, dorm map, and that will tell you whether that room can be unlocked for use. We want to make sure that keys, after they're used, are returned to the envelope. If a room needs to be unlocked, the dorm host will go unlock the door and then return the keys to the envelope. Please do not lend the keys out to anyone, even a district personnel. It's really important that the dorm host stay in possession of the school keys at all times. Each athlete will have a personal schedule to follow, and there will be a bus and meal schedule for each sport in the dorm binder. So what that schedule will tell you is when the athletes will be back in the building again. So their bus and meal schedule will have listed when they'll be returning to the dorm site. So each of the athletes are assigned to a very specific room, and the room lists will be held in each binder. There will be an incident form, and as dorm host, one of your duties is to record any incidents on the incident forms, and that's any irregularities or issues that arise. The completed forms will be kept in a marked envelope, and you'll see it right there in the dorm binder. It'll be marked with the day's date, and security will collect the incident forms every day. So please fill out an incident form if there's an incident, no matter big or small, how big or small. The dorm host role is not to discipline the athletes, but to seek assistance from the coaches if an issue does arise, and then document it for the BC game. So what is an incident? It's not about getting kids in trouble. It's about identifying a pattern. Athletes coming in late, causing damage, being unreasonably rowdy, using alcohol, any of those kinds of things would be considered an incident. A crisis, and we certainly hope that this doesn't happen, is something that needs to be reported to the BC Games CEO, Steve Carlton. And that would include a life-threatening injury or death, obviously, building evacuation, the disappearance of an athlete, anything that is very serious and of that nature. Should something like this occur, call the switchboard and immediately report what has happened. Don't speak to the media, and be aware of social media nowadays. It's such a fast method of communication. We don't want to be putting things out on social media ourselves. So what do you do if an athlete decides that they want to leave the dorm and not stay at the dorm? All athletes must stay in the games accommodation in order to participate in the BC Summer Games. If an athlete asks to leave, turn the issue over to their coach. If they leave the accommodation, they're basically checking out the games. They're checking out of the games and they can't participate as an athlete. So your job is simply to fill out the incident form and make note of the fact that an athlete has essentially left the games. Curfew is typically 10:30. Lights out will be 11 o'clock. You want to check the sign-in sheet at curfew and go to the coach about any athletes who have not signed in. It's very serious that all of the athletes be accounted for by curfew time. So at the end of the evening, you want to be sure by 10:30 that you're checking the sheet to ensure that you've got all the athletes left in the building. If you're not sure as to whether someone's come in and they simply didn't sign back in, you can call the coach and have the coach check that room for the athlete. A stationary security guard will be on a site about an hour before and an hour after the curfew time. They will check the dorm table, but they will not enter the dorm site, so they will not come in to where the athletes are sleeping. They will do a perimeter check of all the exterior doors to make sure that everything is locked up. And just as a note, the security guards are not accredited to enter the dorm site. If the need arises for them to intervene, they must be accompanied by you, the dorm host. So just as a reminder, the keys for the building are in an envelope in the front of the dorm binder. The host will lock the front door at the lights out time of 11 p.m. And there will be BC Games staff and school district building managers coming by to make sure that everything is okay, and just to make sure that you don't need an extra hand before the lights are out. Fire evacuation plans with marshalling areas have been posted through the building. You will also find them within the dorm binder that will be at the front reception desk. Smoke detectors have been placed in each of the rooms, and they're much like the ones you would see in your home. They're not all wired together like we typically would see in a school like this. They're individually within each of the dorm rooms, or what we would call a classroom. And so it's very important that if the smoke detector in a room goes off, it's essential that the main fire alarm be pulled, and that's what lets everyone else in the building know that they have to evacuate the room. Obviously, we hope this doesn't happen. It's unlikely that it will happen, but if one of the smoke detectors does go off, we need to pull the main fire alarm. In the case of a fire, we need to have a recognizable person to meet the fire department in front of the building with the sign-in and sign-out sheets that accounts for all of the people in the building. And that recognizable person is going to be you, the dorm host. In the case of a fire, you will find under your table this clear plastic container, and it says in case of a fire on it. If a fire should occur, you just take this basket out, take the vest out and put it on, and you will remove the sign in and sign out sheets that are taped down to the table. You just rip them off, put them inside the box, put the dorm binder inside the box, take the box outside, and meet the fire department. So you'll be standing outside with your clear plastic box with your orange vest on, and the fire department will be looking for you. So on the final day of the games, there will be a schedule when the last athletes depart. You want to communicate to athletes to bring the foamy down that they are going to be sleeping on. So have the athletes bring them down. That'll really help us with the final cleanup after the games. So as the athletes are coming down, ask them to bring their foamies down, leave them in the foyer. The dorm captains and district staff will arrive, and we will secure the building and release you. Please don't leave the building unattended. Once the last athletes have left, please feel free to call us, and we will come over right away and relieve you of duty, and thank you for volunteering for the game. There will be some athletes that have disabilities participating in the game. And just a reminder that those athletes want to be treated like everyone else. We all want to be treated respectfully and with dignity. Make sure when you're addressing the athlete, you speak directly to them, not their caregiver, and just use your common sense. Be patient and allow the person to speak. Don't be afraid to offer assistance. And remember that not all disabilities are obvious. Just keeping in mind, of course, that we want to use, respectful language when we address athletes with a disability. And people are not their disability. So it's not a blind man. It's a person with a visual impairment. So we want to make sure that we're not using slang to address people. Thank you very much for volunteering for the BC Summer Games. I know that you're going to make a big difference in the lives of these young athletes, and that this will be an event that they cherish for many years to come. Thank you again for your time and for investing that time in volunteering for the accommodations team.